Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome back to Witches of the Moon. I'm your Friday hostess, Natalie. Today's discussion is Retribution in Magic. Magical retribution, taking revenge, magically speaking. And so I'm going to give you my thoughts on that. This will likely be short and to the point because I'm sure by the end of this week you're sick to death of this topic. So let's get right down to it. If you are Wiccan, and I am not Wiccan, I'm eclectic, but I hold true a lot of their ideals. I think that they're on the right path. When you are Wiccan, you are under the mandate of the rule of three to harm none, because what you send forth comes back to you threefold. Now, I always had a problem with that because I look at physics. When you take a rock and you throw it to a pond, the waves that come out are initially strong, and yes, some of that comes back to you, but it's typically attenuated or diminished in some way by the time it comes back to the point at which you throw out the rock. So when you watch the waves go out, they're very strong, but as they come back, they're not as strong. So I never quite connected with the idea of the rule of three, of it coming back threefold. Now, I have a good friend who said that to her, the threefold meant physical, spiritual, and emotional responses. And I can see that, and I agree with it. Now, I will state that when you put something bad out there, some of that does come back to you, and I think basic physics shows us that. We're dealing with energy. Energy is a real thing, folks. And when you send that energy forth, some of that energy comes back to you. So it never, in my opinion, serves to send forth something really nasty, especially if you're just kind of putting it out there and it's not extremely directed and stated specifically to an nth degree what you want going on. And my view is just that I have better places to put my energy. I could be using my energy to change the situation, get myself away from this person. I do binding spells, and I do return to sender spells. Those are very common among witches, but I know a true Wiccan, I have heard that they don't believe in doing those either. If you have read any of, I hope I'm saying his name right, Christopher Benchick's books, he will tell you, if you read The Witch's Shield, he will tell you that that kind of spell work is not to be done. It's naughty. But I don't agree with that. I think that's simply protectionary. When somebody's throwing something at you, you're going to put your arm up to deflect it. If somebody is trying to stab you, you're going to put your arm up and try to get the knife away from them, are you not? And to me, that's the way I see binding and return to sender spells. I don't see it as it's necessarily you going forth and doing something to harm someone else. It's you're trying to disarm them from harming you. And I have no problem doing that. I don't think that there's a problem with that. I have known people who have done magic in retribution, have sent a hex or a curse. I have myself not done a curse or a hex, so to speak, but I have sent forth something to put a stop to somebody's behavior, not what I would consider a binding or a return to sender spell, so to speak, but more this person needs to be taught a lesson, and I'm sending that lesson to them. So to me, it was different in my mind than a binding or a return to sender spell. And I want to share with you guys a story that I saw from a YouTuber. I have not seen him on here in a while, but there was a YouTuber, I believe he was the Aussie Witch. Mark was his real name. I don't know if he still has a channel. I haven't seen him put anything new out. But maybe I'm just, I don't know. Maybe I'm not subscribed to him anymore. I don't know. I'll have to go back and take a look now. But he told a story about a magical working that he did. There was apparently there where he lives in Australia, there was a man who kidnapped a woman. It was his former girlfriend. She was trying to get away from him, and he and a buddy kidnapped her and were torturing her and keeping her captive, and nobody knew what happened to her. They just knew she disappeared. So he set forth a spell wanting this person to feel such remorse that he let her go. Well, you have to be cautious even with things like that because it sounds pretty harmless, right? Well, it was so effective that not only did the man let the woman go the next day, but he committed suicide. He felt so guilty about what he did, he committed suicide. And that too sends out some ripple of energy into the universe when someone takes their own life like that. And If you have watched my videos on biophilic alternative, I did a video specifically on suicide because my daughter's friend just committed suicide in December, the Saturday before Christmas, and then I had a friend who committed suicide last month, a witchy friend, a very good friend, and that sends out a ripple. Trust me, that sends out such a ripple in the universe that affects people that you may not even realize it affects. And so, that's affecting people probably to this day. I'm certainly the man's mother and or brothers, sisters, any family that he has are still feeling the effects of that. So magic has the potential to be far reaching across generations of time. And so whenever you're doing magic in terms of retribution, I would caution you to be extremely careful, because many times there are effects of magic that you don't foresee or that you don't expect. It's not what you're looking for. If you've ever watched that TV show Charmed, those unintended consequences, yeah, those sorts of things, that's very much a true aspect of magic. And I think it's something that we as witches often kind of go, we kind of poo-poo it, or we don't take it seriously when it really is very serious a matter. And I had another thought that just went through my head, and then it just marched itself right back out. But it was a good point. So if it comes up again, I may stop in the middle and bring that point up again, because it was a good one, and I'm trying to remember desperately what it was. Damn, it's gone. Sorry about that. I try not to say a lot because that drives me nuts. I'm one of those people that sit in the audience and count how many times you say when you're speaking. So I apologize for that. However, I will say that, magic has consequences that sometimes we're not anticipating. We don't even think about things that never even occur to our minds. I know Mark certainly didn't expect the man to commit suicide. That was never a thought in Mark's head, but that's what it was. That was my point. Particularly when you're angry. Anger is one of those funny emotions. Anger is not its own emotion. If any of you have taken any kind of counseling classes, anger management classes, anything like that, you will learn that anger is a masking emotion. It masks one of three things. It masks fear, disappointment, and pain. So when you are angry, you're either feeling disappointed at yourself or someone else, or in a situation. You are feeling scared, or the relief that comes after being extremely scared. So like if your child runs out in the middle of the road, you're going to be pretty angry at them. Why did you do that? But that anger is coming from your fear of, oh my God, you could have been killed. That kind of thing. So anger, though, is a very powerful emotion because you're taking all of your emotional focus and you're channeling that. So retributive magic is very powerful. Very, very strong, probably some of the strongest magic we have out there. The only other magic I could think that might come as close or such a strong emotion would be sex magic of some sort. It really is very powerful, so you have to be careful. You have to really do your magic in a good frame of mind. So I would caution against any type of retributive magic. Now, if you're doing a binding or a return to sender, I would tell you, have yourself a drink. Calm down. Have some mugwort before you do that spell, because if you are angry and your emotions are ramped up, yes, it's very good in terms of getting the energy going, but there could be some unintended consequences. So you need to be able to channel the anger, channel the emotion, channel the energy, get your visualization up without there being the chaotic aspect of the anger that goes with it. I think that's where I was going with that point. Yes, that's where I was going with that. Hullabaloo, it's the end of the week, right, folks? So, anyhow, again, I think it's up to you what you do with your magic. And I've always been one to say that I don't think that anybody has a right to tell you that you should or should not do this. That's why I say I would caution you. I would caution you to think long and hard about some unintended consequences that may come out of the actions that you do. Retributive, angry magic is not my style. I find that personally, I would rather put my energy into much better things. I saw a meme on Facebook that I thought was funny. I'm a passive aggressive witch. I don't, curse or hex people that piss me off. I just bless the heck out of everybody around them. And that's kind of how I feel about it. I would rather put my energies towards something positive, because what you do send forth, some of that does come back to you in some manner, in some way. And again, basic physics, I think, shows us that when you throw a rock in a pond, that wave goes out, it hits the sides, and it comes back in. So some of that's going to come back your way. So if you're on the handball court and you're just whacking that ball, eventually that ball, if you aren't controlling where it's going, it's going to come back and pop you in the face. Same kind of thing. You really need to be cautious. You really need to be careful. You need to know what you're doing and be very prepared to deal with any of the consequences that may come out of that unintentionally. So I always caution against angry, retributive magic. I don't have a problem with people who do binding. I don't really have a problem with people that do curses and hexes if I feel, if they feel it's justified. And again, that's where judgment comes in, is how can you determine what is appropriate and what is not. And I think in terms of justice, it depends a lot on the level of harm that's been done in the situation. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to go out and curse or hex somebody for walking across my lawn or cutting me off on the road. I might give them a bird, but I'm not going to, fling a curse at them that's going to, grow a hump on their back and, have their children be deformed from now until eternity. It's just not the kind of thing that I think my energy is lent well to. I find that your energy is much better spent, personally, I find. Energy is much better spent if it's put into maybe strengthening and protection. Perhaps sending something positive out to that person, even though you're angry at them. You know what? I know you did that because you're upset about this and that, so I'm going to do something to alleviate that situation. Even if they've done something that's so absolutely horrible, if you wanted to do some type of a return to sender spell, I don't have a problem with that. Just bear in mind that some level of what you send forth does come back, as we know. So just be prepared to deal with that. Put your protections up, and you may never really feel the consequences, or they may be so diminished that it's so what, you stub your toe, big deal. Type of thing. I just think that really angry, retributive magic, people who, revel in that type of chaos, and I'm not talking chaos magic here, I'm talking people that revel in chaos of emotions and that sort of thing, it does not really serve you well, and I find that people like that don't last very long in the magical world. So that's the way I see it. I would be open to hearing your responses and seeing what you have to say. Again, just be cautious with what you do and move with love, and make this place a better world. Don't make it a worse one. Blessings.